Have you noticed a hamster in your hallways? I'm here to introduce you to Humphrey the hamster. When you get back to class, you're going to be given a book to take home, and every night we're going to ask you to read a chapter with your parents. And this isn't just something in the school. We have businesses and different people in the town that are going to be reading the book at the same time with you. If you see someone wearing a button like this, Humphrey the hamster button, then that means that they're reading the same book that you are. And if you're in town, ask them about the book, where they're at, and hopefully that you can have a conversation with them. Today I'm going to read chapter 1 to you, and hopefully that you'll take the book home tonight, and then you'll read chapter 2. There's going to be a daily trivia contest. Your librarian's going to give you prizes every day. Think about that. You do a little bit of reading, and then you get prizes every day. That's a pretty good deal. And so we want to make sure that everybody stays excited about this and everybody is doing their reading. So let's settle down and read chapter 1. The World According to Humphrey. And this is written by Betty G. Burney. All right, chapter 1. The Return of Mrs. Brisbane. Today was the worst day of my life. Mrs. Mack left room 26 of Longfellow School for good. And that's bad. Worse yet, Mrs. Brisbane came back. Until today, I didn't even know there was a Mrs. Brisbane. Lucky me. Now I want you to know, what was Mrs. Mack thinking? She must have known that soon she'd be leaving without me, and that Mrs. Brisbane would come back to room 26 and I would be stuck with her. It's still okay. I still love Mrs. Mack more than any human or hamster on earth. But what was she thinking? You can learn a lot about yourself by taking care of another species, she told me on the way home the day that she got me. You'll teach those kids a thing or two. That's what she was thinking. I don't think she was thinking very clearly. I'm never going to squeak to her again. Of course, I'll probably never see her again because she's gone. But if she comes back, I'm not even going to look at her. I know that last sentence doesn't make sense. It's hard to make sense when your heart's broken. On the other hand, until Mrs. Mack arrived, I was going nowhere down on my pet-orama. My days were spent sitting around looking at a bunch of furry things in cages just like mine. We were treated all right. Regular meals, clean cages, music piped in all day. Over the music, Carl, the store clerk, would answer the phone. Open 9 to 9, 7 days a week, corner of 5th and Alder, next to the Dairy Maid. Back then, I feared I'd never see 5th and Alder, much less the Dairy Maid. Sometimes I'd see a human eyes and nose, not always as clean as they should be, poking up against the glass. Nothing ever came of it. The children were excited to see me, but the parents usually had other ideas. Oh, come see the fishes, Cornelia. So colorful and so much easier to take care of a hamster, Mama might say. Or, no, Norbert. They have the cutest little puppies over here. After all, a dog is a boy's best friend. So there we were, hamsters, gerbils, mice, and guinea pigs. Not nearly as popular as the fish, cats, or dogs. I suspected I'd be spinning on my wheel at Pet-O-Rama forever. But once Miss Mack carried me out the door a short 6 weeks ago, my life changed. Fast. I saw 5th. I saw Alder. I saw the Dairy Maid with the statue of a cow in an apron outside. I was dozing when she first came to Pet-O-Rama, as I do during the day because hamsters are more active at night. Hello, a warm voice awakened me. When I opened my eyes, I saw a mass of bouncy black curls, a big happy smile, huge dark eyes. She smelled of apples. It was love at first sight. Aren't you the bright-eyed one, she asked. And I might return the compliment, I replied. Of course it came out squeak, as usual. Miss Mack opened up her purse with the big pink and blue flowers on it. I'll take him, she told Carl. He's obviously the most intelligent hamster you have. Carl grunted. Then Miss Mack picked out a respectable cage. Okay, not the 3-story pagoda I had my eye on, but a nice cage. And soon, amid squeals of encouragement from my friends in the small pet department, from the teeniest white mouse to the lumbering chinchilla, I left Pet-O-Rama with high hopes. We sped down the street in Miss Mack's bright yellow car. She called it a bug, but I could see it was really a car. She carried my cage up to the stairs to her apartment. We eat apples. We watch TV. She let me run around outside my cage. She gave me my very own name, Humphrey. And she told me all about room 26, where we'd be going the next morning. And since you are an intelligent hamster who is going to school, I have a present for you, Humphrey, she said. Then she gave me a tiny little notebook and a tiny little pencil. I got these for you at the doll shop, she explained. She tucked them behind my mirror where no one could see them except me. Of course, it might be a while before you learn to read and write, she continued, but you're smart and I know that you'll catch on fast. Little did she know I could already make out some of the words from my last long, boring days at Petaluma. Words like chew toys, kibble, pooper scoopers. Remember, a hamster is grown up at about 5 weeks old. So if I can learn all the skills I need for life in 5 weeks, how long could it possibly take to learn to read? I'll tell you, a week. Yep, in a week I could read and even write a little with my tiny pencil. In addition to schoolwork, I learned quite a bit about the other students in room 26. Like, lower your voice, AJ, and speak up, Sarah, and wait for the bell, Garth, and Golden Miranda. Even after I found out her name is really Miranda Golden, I thought of her as Golden Miranda because of her long blonde hair. After all, I am a golden hamster. Yes, life in room 26 suited me well during the day. My cage had all the comforts a hamster could ask for. I had bars on the window to protect me from my enemies. I had a little sleeping house in one corner where no one could see or bother me. There was my wheel to spin on, of course, and a lovely pile of nesting material. My mirror came in handy to check my grooming and to hide my notebook. In one corner I kept my food. The opposite corner was my bathroom area because hamsters like to keep their poo away from their food. Who doesn't? All my needs were taken care of in one convenient cage. At night, I went home from school with Miss Mac and we watched TV or listened to music. Sometimes Miss Mac played her bongo drums. She made a tunnel on the floor so I could race and wiggle to my hamster's heart's content. Oh, the memories of those 6 weeks with Morgan McNamara. That's her real name, but she told her students to call her Miss Mac. That's how nice she is, or was. On the weekends, Miss Mac and I had all kinds of adventures. She put me in her shirt pocket, right over her heart, and took me with her to the laundry room. She had friends over and they laughed and made a fuss over me. She even took me for a bike ride once. I can still feel the wind in my fur. I didn't have an inkling, until this morning, of the unsqueakable thing that she is about to do to me. On the way to work she said, "Humphrey, I hate to tell you, but this is my last day in room 26, and I'm going to miss you more than you'll ever know." What was she saying? I hung onto my wheel for dear life. You see, it's really Mrs. Brisbane's class, but just before school started, her husband was in an accident, so I took over the class. Today she's coming back for good. Good? I could see nothing good in what Miss Mac was saying. Besides, I want to see the world, Humphrey, she told me. Fine with me. I've thoroughly enjoyed all the world I've seen so far and would go to the ends of the earth with Mrs. Mac. But she wasn't finished yet. But I can't take you with me. All hopes dashed. Completely. Besides, the kids need you to teach them responsibility. Mrs. Brisbane needs you too. Unfortunately, she didn't tell Miss Brisbane that. Mrs. Brisbane was already in room 26 when we arrived. She smiled at Miss Mac and shook her hand. Then she frowned at me and said, "Is that some kind of rodent?" Miss Mac gave her the speech about how much the kids can learn from taking care of another species. Miss Brisbane looked horrified and said, "I can't stand rodents. Take it back." The it she was talking about was me. Miss Mac didn't bat an eyelash. She put my cage in its usual place next to the window and said the kids were already very attached to me. She attached Dr. Harry H. Hammer's Guide to the Care and Feeding of Hamsters to the cage, along with the chart to make sure I was fed and my cage was cleaned on time. The children know what to do. "You won't have to do a thing," Miss Mac said as Mrs. Brisbane glared at me. Just then my fellow students came streaming in the room, and within half an hour Miss Mac had said goodbye to everyone, including me. "I'll never forget you, Humphrey," she whispered. "Don't you forget me either." "Not likely, but I don't know if I can ever forgive you," I squeaked. And then she was gone, without me. Mrs. Brisbane didn't even come to close my cage until recess. Then she walked over and said, "Mister, you got to go." But she doesn't know my secret. The latch on my cage doesn't work. It never has. It's a lock that doesn't lock. So I've got big news for you, Mrs. Brisbane. If I've got to go, it will be when and where I decide to go, not her. Meanwhile, I'm not turning my back on this woman. Not for a second. If I ever disappear and someone finds this notebook, just check out Mrs. Brisbane, please. Tip 1. Choose your hamster's home very carefully and make sure it's secure. Hamsters are skilled escape artists, and once out of their cages, they are very difficult to find. Guide to the Care and Feeding of Hamsters, Dr. Harry H. Hammer. Well, kids, that is the end of Chapter 1. I think it's going to be an exciting book. I can't wait to find out what happens to Humphrey. Remember, you have teachers and adults and people in the community that are all reading the same book at the same time. So hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about as we're all reading the same book. It's going to be kind of exciting to find out what happens to Humphrey. I think he's going to run away and escape. What do you think? Have a great day.
Here we go.